to deep drama stories, where every story reveals hidden emotions, life changing moments, and the drama that shapes who we become.
That Tuesday morning, when I was leaving for my weekly site inspection in Atlanta, Mrs. Shaw grabbed my arm at the mailbox. Her face was pale, worried. "Robert, I need to tell you something. There's someone coming to your house every time you leave for work. A man. He parks in your garage like he owns the place." My blood ran cold. My wife Diane was supposed to be alone. But when I checked the security footage, I nearly collapsed at what I discovered. I discovered a shocking statistic. 95% of viewers won't spend even 2 seconds to subscribe. It's not that they don't like the content. They just think 2 seconds isn't worth the investment. But 2 seconds today can bring you hundreds of inspiring stories for a lifetime. If you're smarter than 95%, like plus subscribe plus comment, "I'm smart." The other 5% always recognize real value, and I know you're one of them. And let me take you back to where it all began. October, Charleston, South Carolina. A Tuesday that shattered everything. Mrs. Helen Shaw caught me at the mailbox. She lived 3 doors down in our historic Charleston neighborhood, a retired nurse who kept her lawn pristine and always waved when I drove past. But that morning, her face was pale, worried. The kind of expression that makes your stomach drop before words are even spoken. "Robert," she said, her voice low, "I need to tell you something important." I set down the blueprint tubes I was carrying. "Everything okay, Mrs. Shaw?" She glanced back at my house, then pulled me closer to her mailbox, away from the street. "There's someone coming to your home every time you leave for work. A man. He parks in your garage like he owns the place." The words hung in the October air between us. Cool morning, 68 degrees, the kind of weather that makes Charleston beautiful. But I felt cold. "What do you mean, someone?" I asked carefully. "I mean a man with a key." Her hands twisted together, the way anxious people do when they are delivering bad news. "He arrives after you leave, stays for hours, sometimes overnight. Robert, I have seen this at least 8 times in the past 2 months. Every single time you travel." My mind raced through possibilities. A contractor? But Diane would have mentioned it. A friend? She did not have male friends who visited alone. Family? We had no family in Charleston. "Are you sure it's my house?" I heard myself asking, hoping she was mistaken. Mrs. Shaw's expression softened with something like pity. "Robert, I was a nurse for 40 years. I know when something is wrong. This is wrong. Your wife is home, alone. Why would a strange man have a key to your house?" I could not answer that. I stood there holding blueprint tubes for a renovation project in Atlanta, wearing my work boots and company jacket, being told that my life might not be what I thought it was. "What does he look like?" I finally asked. "Younger than you. Maybe late 20s. Tall. He drives a black Honda. Newer model." She paused. "Robert, I am sorry. I have been wrestling with whether to tell you, but if it were my husband, I would want to know." I thanked her. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. I loaded the rest of my gear into the truck on autopilot, started the engine. But Mrs. Shaw's words echoed in my head the entire drive to my office downtown. A man with a key. Late 20s. Black Honda. That description fit exactly one person. Ethan, my son. But that made no sense. Ethan lived in our guest house, a converted garage apartment we had built for him 3 years ago when he moved back home after losing his job. He had his own entrance, his own space. Why would he need to sneak into the main house when I was gone? Unless he was not sneaking in for himself. I pulled into the Bennett Architecture parking lot, but did not go inside. Instead, I sat in my truck and called Diane. She answered on the third ring, her voice cheerful. "Hey, honey, did you forget something?" "No, just wanted to hear your voice before the drive to Atlanta." "That's sweet." I could hear her smile through the phone. "Be safe. Love you. Love you too." I hung up. She sounded normal, completely normal, like a wife of 24 years saying goodbye to her husband for a work trip. But Mrs. Shaw's face kept appearing in my mind. The worry, the certainty, the apology in her voice when she said, "I would want to know." I made a decision right there in that parking lot. I was not going to Atlanta today. I was going to Best Buy. And then I was going to find out exactly what was happening in my house when I was not home. Because Mrs. Shaw was right about one thing. If someone had a key to my house and was coming over every time I left town, there was only one reason why. And I needed to know the truth. Even if that truth destroyed everything I had built over the past 24 years. Even if it shattered the perfect life I thought I had. Even if it meant discovering that the people I loved most in the world were hiding something from me. The October sun was bright and warm as I drove away from my office toward the electronics store. But inside, I felt the cold creeping in. The kind of cold that comes from doubt, from suspicion, from the terrible possibility that Mrs. Shaw was about to be proven right. I had built what I thought was the perfect life. How wrong I was. The drive to Best Buy gave me too much time to think. 24 years of marriage. A successful architecture firm I had founded from nothing. A beautiful home in Charleston's historic district, worth $1.2 million. My son living comfortably in our guest house while he figured out his next move. On paper, I was winning at life. But Mrs. Shaw's words had cracked something open, and now memories were flooding through that crack. Uncomfortable memories I had been ignoring. I met Diane 26 years ago at a design conference in Savannah. She was an interior designer, recently divorced, with a 3-year-old son named Ethan. I was 30 years old, building my career, and she was beautiful. Dark hair, warm smile, and this way of looking at me like I was the most interesting person in the room. We married 2 years later. Small ceremony, just family. I adopted Ethan when he was 4 years old. Legally, officially, he became my son. Ethan Bennett. I raised him like he was my own blood. Little league games, homework help, college visits. I loved that boy, or I thought I did. Now I wondered if love could survive what I might discover on those cameras. My firm, Bennett Architecture, specialized in historic renovations and custom homes across the Southeast. I had 4 employees and a steady stream of projects. The Atlanta renovation was a $3.5 million contract, my biggest yet. Success had not come easy, but it had come. And with success came money. Real money. I had an $800,000 life insurance policy through the firm. The house was paid off. My business was valued at roughly $600,000. Between investments and savings, Diane and I had built assets worth approximately $2.6 million. I had provided well, maybe too well. Diane's interior design business had failed 2 years ago. Bad investments, clients who did not pay, expenses she had not anticipated. She claimed she lost $90,000 before shutting it down. I had covered the losses without complaint. That is what husbands do. Now she did occasional consulting work. Or at least, that is what she told me. Ethan had dropped out of college after 2 years. Gambling problem, though we never called it that out loud. He came home, moved into the guest house, and had been unemployed for 3 years. I paid his phone bill, his car insurance, gave him money when he asked. Which was often. That is what fathers do, right? But lately, something had shifted. Diane seemed distant, stressed about money even though we had plenty. She started this Sunday night tradition 4 months ago, making me special coffee before my Monday morning drives to Atlanta. Said it was her way of showing she cared, that she missed me during the week. I had found it touching. A small ritual in a long marriage. Now that ritual felt sinister. And Ethan. When was the last time we had a real conversation? He avoided me. Stayed in his apartment when I was home, only emerging when I left for work trips. I had assumed he was embarrassed about being unemployed, ashamed that his old man was still supporting him at 28 years old. What if it was not shame? What if it was something else? I pulled into the Best Buy parking lot and sat with the engine running. My hands gripped the steering wheel, and I forced myself to breathe slowly. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Mrs. Shaw was mistaken. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation for why Ethan would enter the main house when I was gone. But I could not think of one. The architecture of a life is like the architecture of a building. You need a solid foundation. You need honest materials. You need structural integrity. For 24 years, I thought my marriage had all three. Now I wondered if I had been living in a house built on sand. Beautiful on the outside, impressive to visitors, but fundamentally unsound. The kind of structure that collapses when pressure is applied. I was about to apply pressure. I turned off the truck and walked into Best Buy. The electronics section was busy with teenagers looking at gaming systems and parents buying laptops for school. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that the middle-aged man in the work jacket was about to purchase tools to spy on his own family. 4 wireless cameras, motion-activated, cloud storage, phone app access. The sales associate explained features I barely heard. I nodded, paid in cash so there would be no credit card record Diane might see, and walked out with equipment that would either prove my suspicions wrong or destroy my world. I chose to believe it would prove me wrong, but I bought 4 cameras anyway. Because deep down, in that place where intuition lives, I already knew the truth. I just needed evidence to confirm what my gut had been screaming for the past 3 hours. My perfect life was about to be revealed as a perfect lie. Mrs. Shaw's words had burrowed into my brain like parasites. I could not shake them. By Thursday morning, I had made a decision that would destroy my world. I called my project manager in Atlanta. "Dave, I have caught something. Flu, maybe. I am staying home through the weekend. Can you handle the site inspection?" Dave could handle it. Dave was reliable, unlike my family apparently. Thursday afternoon, Diane left for her yoga class. Ethan was supposedly at a friend's apartment, though I had stopped believing his alibis. The house was empty. I had 2 hours. The cameras were small, sophisticated, designed to look like everyday objects. I had researched this carefully. First, the garage. I mounted the camera inside an old toolbox on the shelf, angled toward the entrance. Anyone parking inside would be clearly visible. Second, the living room. The camera disguised as a smoke detector went on the ceiling near the front door. Perfect view of anyone entering or leaving. Third, the kitchen. A clock camera on the wall, positioned to capture the table and counters. Fourth, my home office. This one was critical. An electrical outlet camera, placed low, facing my desk and filing cabinets. If someone was going through my papers, I would know. Each camera synced to my phone through an app called Safe Home. Motion-activated recording, cloud backup, real-time alerts. The technology was almost too easy. I tested each feed, crystal clear. 4 angles covering the main house. Everything I needed to catch a ghost, or catch my family in a lie. Friday, I played sick, stayed home, watched Diane move through the house like everything was normal. She brought me soup, asked if I needed anything, played the concerned wife perfectly. That night at dinner, I set the trap. The Atlanta client needs me there early Monday morning, I said, stirring my soup. I should probably drive down Sunday night. Get a hotel near the site. Be fresh for the 8 a.m. meeting. Diane's reaction was subtle. A flicker of something in her eyes. Relief, maybe, or anticipation. Sunday night? She asked. That is earlier than usual. Yeah, but you know how it is. Big project. I watched her carefully. You will be okay here alone? Of course. She smiled. I will miss you, but I understand. She would miss me. Right. Sunday evening arrived too quickly and too slowly. Diane made pot roast, my favorite. We ate at the dining table like a normal couple. She asked about the Atlanta project. I invented details about structural assessments and permit issues. She nodded, seeming interested. She was a good actress. I had to give her that. After dinner, she brought out the coffee. Our Sunday night ritual. Special blend she made just for me. For the road, she said, setting the mug in front of me. Keep you alert for the drive. I lifted the mug. The coffee smelled normal. Looked normal. For a moment, doubt crept in. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe Mrs. Shaw was wrong. Maybe I was about to ruin my marriage over nothing. But I drank it anyway. Kissed Diane goodbye. Loaded my overnight bag into the truck. Love you, she called from the doorway. Love you too. I drove away at 8 p.m., watching her wave in my rearview mirror. Picture-perfect wife seeing off her hard-working husband. 15 miles down Interstate 26, I exited and checked into a Marriott. Room 304, king bed, desk, decent Wi-Fi, everything I needed to watch my life fall apart. I sat on the bed with my phone, cursor hovering over the Safe Home app. Part of me did not want to open it, did not want to know, but I had come too far. I opened the app. 4 camera feeds appeared, all quiet, empty rooms. My house sitting peaceful in the Charleston evening. 9:15 p.m. Nothing. 9:30. Still nothing. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this was all a terrible mistake born from paranoia and a neighbor's overactive imagination. 9:47 p.m. The garage camera activated. Motion detected. A figure appeared on screen, opening the door from inside. My hands started shaking. I tapped the screen to zoom in, to see clearly. The face that appeared made my blood turn to ice. It was not a stranger. It was not an intruder. It was not some mystery man having an affair with my wife. It was Ethan, my son. But why would Ethan need to sneak into the main house? He lived there. He had keys. He could come and go freely. Unless he did not want me to know he was coming and going. On screen, Ethan looked around carefully, then walked deeper into the house. Not toward the kitchen or living room, directly toward my home office. The office camera activated. I watched my son sit down at my desk and start going through my files. I sat in that hotel room, staring at my phone, watching my wife and son plan my murder. The Sunday coffee. How many times? I counted backward. 4 months, 16 Sundays, 16 doses of whatever poison they were putting in my special ritual coffee. On screen, Diane and Ethan were still in my office, going through my files like they owned them, like I was already dead. I turned up the audio. Their voices came through clearly now, casual and cold. "The life insurance alone is $800,000, Ethan said, holding up the policy document I kept in my filing cabinet. Then the house. "What did the realtor say last year?" "1.2 million, Diane answered. She was leaning against my desk, arms crossed, completely calm. "Maybe more now. Charleston real estate keeps climbing." "And the firm?" "I spoke with that business appraiser. He estimated 600,000, maybe 650 if we find the right buyer." She smiled. A real smile. Pleased with herself. Altogether, about $2.6 million. $2.6 million. That was my life's value to them. Not 24 years of marriage. Not raising Ethan from age 4. Just numbers on paper, waiting to be liquidated. "Split 50-50? Ethan asked. "After my debts, yes." Diane's smile faded. "I need 90,000 immediately. The creditors are threatening legal action." So that was her motive. The failed design business 2 years ago. The 90,000 she lost. Money I thought she had written off. Apparently, she had not paid back whoever she owed. "And I need 65 for the gambling debts," Ethan added. "Those guys in Columbia are not patient." Columbia, South Carolina's capital, 2 hours away. Home to illegal gambling operations and the kind of people who broke kneecaps when payments were late. My son owed $65,000 to criminals, and instead of asking me for help, he decided murder was easier. "So we are clear on the timeline?" Diane asked. "All business now. How much longer?" Ethan pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. "I have been tracking his symptoms. The antifreeze accumulates slowly. Kidney damage, confusion, fatigue. He has been showing signs for the past month. Antifreeze. They were poisoning me with antifreeze. He mentioned feeling tired last week," Diane said. "And he had that stomach pain 2 Sundays ago. That is the ethylene glycol building up." Ethan sounded like he was discussing a science experiment, not his father's death. "At this rate, another 2 months. Maybe less. It will look exactly like a heart attack. Just like his dad. My father. He died of a heart attack at 56. I was 55 now. The perfect cover story." "And the autopsy?" Diane's voice held a trace of worry. "Most coroners do not test for antifreeze unless there is reason to suspect poisoning. We have been careful. Small doses mixed in the Sunday coffee. By the time he dies, it will have metabolized enough to look like natural kidney failure triggering cardiac arrest, especially with his family history. They had researched this, planned it meticulously, chosen a poison that mimicked natural death. "What if he stops drinking the coffee?" Diane asked. "He will not. It is our ritual." Ethan actually laughed. "He loves that you make it special for him. Thinks it means you care." I thought it meant she cared. I had been touched by the gesture. A small kindness in a long marriage. I had been drinking my own death for 16 weeks. On screen, they continued discussing logistics. How to act surprised when I died. What to say to police. How to file insurance claims quickly. They had scripts prepared. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I set it on the desk, took deep breaths, tried to process what I was hearing. But my mind kept circling back to one question. How long had I been blind? The fatigue I blamed on work stress. The stomach pains I thought were bad takeout. The confusion and memory issues I attributed to getting older. All symptoms of antifreeze poisoning. I opened a browser on my phone, searched antifreeze poisoning symptoms. The list appeared. Fatigue, nausea, stomach pain, confusion, kidney damage, eventual organ failure, and cardiac arrest. I had experienced every single one. Another search, ethylene glycol detection. The results were clear. Blood and urine tests could detect it easily, but only if doctors knew to look for it. I took screenshots of everything on my phone, the camera footage, the audio, their faces clearly visible, their voices clearly audible. Evidence. Then I called the one person who could help me build a case that would put them both in prison. Jack Morrison, private investigator. Former Charleston PD detective. We had worked together years ago on a fraud case involving a construction contractor. He answered on the second ring, voice groggy. "This better be important. It is after 10. Jack, it is Robert Bennett. I need you, tonight. My wife and son are trying to kill me." Silence. Then his voice changed, sharp and alert. "Where are you?" "Marriott on I-26, room 304. I will be there in 20 minutes. Do not call anyone else. Do not talk to them. Just wait." He hung up. I sat in that hotel room, watching my phone screen. Diane and Ethan had left my office now. The house was quiet again. Empty. But I had everything I needed. 4 cameras, clear footage, audio recording them admitting to poisoning me. They thought I was the perfect fool, too trusting, too busy, too stupid to notice. They were wrong. They kept me in the hospital for 3 days. IV fluids to flush my system, medication to protect my kidneys, tests every 6 hours monitoring organ function. Dr. Phillips delivered the news Tuesday morning. "Mr. Bennett, you have stage 2 kidney damage consistent with chronic ethylene glycol exposure. Another 2 to 3 months of exposure could have been fatal. You are very fortunate." Fortunate. That was one word for it. Jack Morrison spent those 3 days building my case like he was still on the force. Tuesday afternoon, he arrived with a folder thick with documents. "Bank records," he said, spreading papers across my hospital bed. "Took some legal maneuvering, but I got them. Diane has $92,000 in credit card debt, business loans she personally guaranteed, collections agencies threatening lawsuits, she is drowning. And Ethan? $68,000 to a gambling operation in Colombia. They are not the kind you walk away from. He has been making minimum payments, barely." Jack pulled out printed emails, found these on his cloud storage, communications with someone named Marcus discussing payment plans and threats. The paper trail was damning. Financial desperation on both sides. Motive clearly established. Wednesday, Jack brought in Sarah Chen. Attorney, former prosecutor, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She listened to the camera footage audio, reviewed the medical reports, examined the financial documents. "This is attempted murder," she said flatly. "Premeditated, documented, with clear financial motive. But we need more." "More?" I asked. "I have them on video admitting to poisoning me," which a defense attorney will claim was taken out of context or illegally obtained. "We need a fresh confession. One they make knowing they are being recorded by law enforcement." She leaned forward. "Mr. Bennett, are you willing to wear a wire?" The idea made my stomach turn. Go back into that house. Sit across from Diane and Ethan. Pretend everything was normal while recording them. "When?" I asked. "This Sunday. You return home early from your Atlanta trip. Surprise them. Confront them about the coffee, see what they say. Police will be listening from a van 3 houses down. The moment they confess, we move in." "What if they do not confess?" "They will panic. Panic makes people talk." Sarah's expression was cold, professional. "And if they offer you coffee, do not drink it. We will have already tested the contents. That physical evidence combined with your testimony and the original footage will be enough. Jack added, I am running one more check. DNA test. Standard procedure in inheritance cases. Should have results. Friday, DNA test? I did not understand. Ethan is adopted. We know he is not biological, right? But if we are building a complete case, we need every legal avenue covered. Trust me, I was released Thursday. Jack drove me to a hotel near the hospital, not the Marriott. Diane thought I was still in Atlanta. I had texted her twice from my phone, keeping up the illusion. Project running long, back Monday. She replied with hearts and miss you. The woman poisoning me missed me. Friday morning, Jack called. His voice was tight. Robert, the DNA results came back. There is something you need to know. What? Can I come to your hotel? He arrived 20 minutes later, sat down heavily in the chair across from my bed, pulled out a folder. Ethan is not your biological son. We knew that. You adopted him. Jack paused. But the test also revealed something else. Diane lied about who his father is. What are you talking about? She told you his father was some ex-boyfriend who left, right? That is not true. I ran the DNA through databases. Ethan's biological father is Marcus Webb, 58 years old, lives in Miami, successful real estate developer. Never knew he had a son. Marcus, the same name from Ethan's gambling debt emails. I do not understand, I said. I found old emails in Diane's account. From 1996, when Ethan was born. She and Marcus Webb had an affair. He was married. When she got pregnant, he wanted her to terminate. She refused, but kept the pregnancy secret. Had Ethan, raised him alone for 3 years. Then she met me, I said slowly. Then she met you. Stable job, good income, kind. She researched you before that design conference in Savannah. Found your LinkedIn, your firm's website. She targeted you, Robert? The meeting was not chance. She needed someone to provide for her and Ethan. You fit the profile perfectly. The hotel room felt too small. 24 years. Not just the murder plot. My entire marriage was a lie. She selected me from the start, I said. I am sorry. Jack's voice was genuine. But this strengthens our case. Pattern of deception spanning decades. Jury will crucify her. I stared at the DNA report. 0% match. Not my son. Never was. Sunday was 2 days away. 2 days until I walked back into that house wearing a wire. 2 days until I faced the woman who had lied to me for 24 years and the son who thought killing me was easier than asking for help. I will do it, I told Jack. Sunday, the wire. Whatever you need. We will be right outside. The moment they confess, we come in. You will be safe. Safe. I had not been safe in my own home for 4 months. Maybe longer. Maybe 24 years. But Sunday, that would end. Sunday evening, I walked into my house knowing it would be the last time as their husband and father. The wire was taped to my chest under my shirt. Detective Morris and his team sat in an unmarked van 3 houses down, listening to every word through my hidden microphone. Sarah Chen was with them, legal authorization in hand. My truck pulled into the driveway at 6 p.m., 3 hours earlier than expected. Diane looked up from the kitchen, surprise flickering across her face before she masked it with a smile. Robert, you are home early. I thought you said Monday. Finished ahead of schedule. I set down my bag, watching her carefully. Thought I would surprise you. Well, it is a lovely surprise. She came over, kissed my cheek. Her lips felt like ice. Have you eaten? I can make something. That would be nice. Ethan emerged from his apartment 20 minutes later. When he saw me, he froze for just a moment. Hey, Dad. Back early. Atlanta project wrapped up. I kept my voice casual. Join us for dinner? He glanced at Diane. Something passed between them. Then he nodded. Sure. We sat around the dining table like a normal family. Diane made pasta. We talked about nothing important. Weather, news, the kind of small talk that fills space between people who have nothing real to say anymore. I watched them both. The woman I had loved for 24 years, the boy I had raised from age 4. They ate and smiled and acted concerned about my trip, all while knowing they had been slowly killing me for 4 months. After dinner, Diane stood. Let me make coffee, our Sunday tradition. There it was, the trap. Actually, I said carefully, I wanted to ask you about that. The Sunday coffee tradition. When did we start that? Diane paused at the counter. A few months ago. Why? Just curious. It is nice, you know. Makes me feel special. I watched her face. What is in it? Tastes different than regular coffee. Her hand trembled slightly, reaching for the coffee pot. Just a special blend. Italian roast with a touch of cinnamon. Cinnamon. Right. I stood up, walked to where she was standing. Diane, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Ethan shifted in his chair. Nervous. Of course, Diane said. What is it? What else is in the coffee? Silence, long and heavy. I do not know what you mean. But her voice had changed, thinner, afraid. I think you do. I pulled out my phone, placed it on the counter, pressed play on the saved video. Their voices filled the kitchen. The antifreeze accumulates slowly. Make sure he drinks the Sunday coffee. 2.6 million. Diane's face went white. Ethan stood up fast, chair scraping. How did you? Diane started. Cameras, I said. 4 of them. I have been watching everything for 2 weeks. Dad, we can explain. Ethan began. Explain poisoning me? Explain planning my murder for $2.6 million? My voice was cold, steady. I went to the hospital. They found ethylene glycol in my blood. 4 months of it. You have been poisoning me every Sunday since June. Diane collapsed against the counter. Robert, please. We were desperate. The debts, the pressure. So you decided to kill me? I stepped closer. 24 years of marriage, Diane. I gave you everything. And you chose murder? It was not supposed to be like this. She was crying now. We just needed the money. You were never home anyway. Always working. Always traveling. So I deserved to die? That is not what I meant. What did you mean? I was shouting now. You put antifreeze in my coffee. You researched how to make it look like a heart attack. You had scripts prepared for when I died. Ethan moved toward the door. I am leaving. No, I blocked him. You stay. Both of you. You wanted my money so badly? Here is what you are going to get instead. 15 to 25 years in prison for attempted murder. Diane's eyes widened. Prison? You confessed on camera. You poisoned me. You planned my death. I gestured to my chest where the wire was hidden. And you just confessed again. Right now. Detective Morris heard every word. As if on cue, the front door burst open. Police flooded in. Diane Bennett, Ethan Bennett, you are under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. I watched them handcuffed. Diane was sobbing. Ethan was silent, face pale. Detective Morris read them their rights while officers searched the house. They found the coffee in the kitchen, tested it on the spot. Positive for ethylene glycol. Physical evidence. Video evidence. Audio confession. Medical proof. Airtight case. Sarah Chen appeared in the doorway. Mr. Bennett, we need you to come to the station. Give a formal statement. I nodded, took one last look at Diane and Ethan being led to separate police cars. "You were my family," I said quietly. Diane looked back, tears streaming. "Robert, I am so sorry." "No, you are sorry you got caught." I walked out of that house and did not look back. 2 days after the arrests, I sat in Jack Morrison's office staring at a DNA report that had been quietly destroying me. 0% match. Ethan Bennett was not my biological son. I had known he was adopted, but learning his real father was Marcus Webb, a man Diane had deliberately hidden, made the betrayal cut deeper. "I found more," Jack said, sliding a folder across his desk. "Old emails from the 90s. She never deleted them. Inside were messages from 1996, before we met. First email, Diane to Marcus Webb, May 1996. "I am pregnant. It is yours." His response, "I have a family, a career. You need to handle this." Her reply, "Handle this? Get rid of it?" Marcus, "That is your decision. Do not contact me again." Then emails to her sister Jennifer, "I am keeping the baby." Marcus made his choice. "I need someone stable, someone who will not ask questions." 3 weeks later, there is a design conference in Savannah. Bennett Architecture will be there. The owner is single, 30, good income. I am going to meet him. My hands shook. She researched me. Before we ever met, LinkedIn, company website, alumni page, Jack confirmed. "She knew your income, education, relationship history. You were perfect." Another email, September 1998. "His name is Robert. Kind, stable, wants a family. I told him about Ethan. This will work." 4 weeks later, Robert proposed. He cried. Said he wanted to give Ethan a real family. He has no idea how perfect this is. He has no idea how perfect this is. Our courtship was calculated. Every smile, conversation, moment I thought was love. She was interviewing me. Husband, provider, father to another man's child. 24 years, I said hollowly. I changed his diapers, taught him to ride a bike, parent-teacher conferences, college I paid for. I loved that boy. I know you did. He was never mine. Jack was quiet. The love was real, Robert. Yours was. But what good was real love given to people who only valued what you could provide? What about Marcus Webb? Jack asked. 58, real estate developer in Miami, married 32 years, 3 other children. No idea Ethan exists. Does he deserve to know? Your call. Marcus Webb told Diane to handle it, refused his son, walked away. Now that son was in prison for attempted murder. No, I decided. Let him live in ignorance. Ethan tried to kill me for money. Let Marcus never know he has a son like that. Punishment enough for abandoning them. Jack closed the folder. Prosecution wants to use this. Shows Diane's pattern of deception spanning decades. Murder plot becomes culmination of lifetime lies. Use it all. Because that was truth. Poisoning was not the beginning. It was the end of a 24-year con starting when Diane decided I was worth targeting. I stood to leave, paused at the door. Jack, did she ever love me? Even a little? He met my eyes. She loved what you represented. Stability, security, a solution. But not me. Probably not you. I walked into Charleston afternoon sunshine. Traffic moved normally. People lived their lives unaware mine was revealed as fiction. My marriage was business. My son was not my son. My love was real, but theirs never was. That might have been the cruelest part. The trial was 2 weeks away. Sarah Chen would present everything. Video, audio, medical proof, financial records, and now this. 24 years of calculated manipulation proven through Diane's own words. The jury would see her as she truly was. not a desperate wife who made a terrible mistake, but a woman who had been using people her entire adult life, who had selected me like a job candidate and spent 2 decades extracting value before deciding I was worth more dead than alive. Justice would be served. I was certain of that now, but no verdict could return what she had stolen. Not the years, not the trust, not the version of myself who believed in love and family and the fundamental goodness of the people closest to him. That man died the night I watched those cameras. The man walking out of Jack Morrison's office was someone different, harder, wiser, lonelier, but alive. And that would have to be enough. The trial lasted 3 days. The verdict took 42 minutes. I sat in Charleston County Courthouse watching my wife and son face justice. March 2025. 5 months after Mrs. Shaw's warning changed everything. The prosecution presented its case with surgical precision. Sarah Chen had been right. The evidence was overwhelming. Day 1. Video footage. The jury watched Diane and Ethan in my office, going through my life insurance policy, discussing my death like it was a business transaction. Several jurors looked sick. Day 2. Audio recordings. Their voices filled the courtroom. The antifreeze accumulates slowly. Make sure he drinks the Sunday coffee. $2.6 million. One woman in the jury box wiped away tears. Day 3. Medical testimony. Dr. Phillips explained ethylene glycol poisoning, showed my test results, kidney damage scans, treatment records, told the jury I would have died within 8 weeks without intervention. Then the coffee, physical evidence. The lab technician testified they found 0.03% ethylene glycol in the Sunday coffee blend Diane kept in our kitchen. Enough to kill over time, not enough to taste. Sarah Chen presented the financial records. Diane's $92,000 in debt. Ethan's $68,000 owed to gambling operations. Bank statements showing they could not pay. Motive clearly established. Finally, the wire recording from that Sunday dinner. Fresh confession. Diane admitting we were desperate. We just needed the money. Ethan silent, not denying anything. Their defense attorney tried. Claimed emotional distress, financial pressure, momentary insanity. The jury did not buy it. 4 months of systematic poisoning was not momentary. It was premeditated murder. On day 3, afternoon session, the defense changed strategy. Both defendants pled guilty to attempted murder and conspiracy. Their attorney negotiated to avoid potential life sentences. Judge Martin accepted the pleas, set sentencing for 1 week later. That week was the longest of my life. Sentencing day arrived. April 5th, the courtroom was packed, press in the back rows. Mrs. Shaw came, sitting quietly in support. Jack Morrison attended. Sarah Chen stood beside me at the prosecutor's table. Judge Martin called Diane first. Mrs. Bennett, you systematically poisoned your husband of 24 years for financial gain. You researched methods to make it appear natural. You maintained this course of action for 16 weeks, administering poison through a ritual you created specifically for that purpose. You showed no remorse until caught. Diane stood, head down, crying. Furthermore, Judge Martin continued, evidence shows you targeted Mr. Bennett from your first meeting, deliberately seeking a provider for yourself and your son. This pattern of manipulation spans decades. You did not just attempt to kill his body. You killed 24 years of trust, love, and family. That betrayal may be the greater crime. He paused, reviewing documents. I sentence you to 18 years in South Carolina Department of Corrections. You will be eligible for parole after serving 85%, approximately 15 years. Diane collapsed into her chair. Her attorney steadied her. Then Ethan. Mr. Bennett, you participated in a plot to murder the man who raised you from age 4. The man who loved you, provided for you, treated you as his own son despite no biological connection. You took money from gambling operations, accumulated massive debt, and rather than ask for help, chose patricide. Ethan stood motionless. No tears, just pale acceptance. You are 28 years old, young enough to rebuild a life after prison, old enough to understand the magnitude of your crime. Judge Martin's voice was hard. I sentence you to 15 years in South Carolina Department of Corrections. Parole eligibility after 85%. Approximately 12 years. The gavel fell. Bailiffs moved forward. Handcuffs clicked onto wrists. As they were led away, Ethan looked back at me. Just once. His eyes held no apology, no remorse, just anger that they had been caught. I did not look away, held his gaze until he turned. Diane was still crying as they took her through the side door. Her last words, "Robert, please, I am sorry." But she was not sorry for what she did. Only sorry she got caught. Sorry she would spend the next 15 years in prison instead of spending my $2.6 million. Judge Martin addressed the courtroom. Mr. Bennett, do you wish to make a victim impact statement? I stood, walked to the podium, looked at the empty defense table where my family had sat minutes before. Your Honor, they took 24 years of my life. Not through the poison, though that nearly succeeded. They took them through lies. Every day I believed I had a family was a day I lived in fiction. My voice stayed steady, cold. I lost a wife I never truly had, a son who was never really mine. But I gained something too. The knowledge that I loved genuinely, even if that love was not returned. That I was a good husband and father, even to people who did not deserve it. I paused. They wanted me dead for money. Instead, they will spend the best years of their lives in prison. That is justice enough. I stepped down. Judge Martin nodded. This court is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, spring sunshine warmed Charleston streets. Jack stood beside me on the steps. How do you feel? He asked. Empty, I admitted, but free. Justice had been served. Diane and Ethan would pay for their crimes. But I was the one who had to figure out how to live after everything I believed was revealed as a lie. The legal aftermath moved swiftly once criminal verdicts were final. Divorce granted the same day as sentencing. South Carolina law allowed immediate dissolution when one spouse attempts murder. Sarah Chen had filed paperwork weeks earlier. 24 years of marriage dissolved in a single signature. Asset division was straightforward. Attempted murder nullified any claim Diane had to marital property. I received everything. The house, $1.2 million. Bennett Architecture, $600,000. All savings and investments, $400,000. Total, $2.2 million. Diane received nothing. No house, no business stake, no savings, no alimony. South Carolina does not reward would-be murderers. $0, 0 cents. The court ordered restitution, medical expenses, legal fees, pain and suffering. $200,000 paid jointly by both defendants, from prison wages of 20 cents per hour. That would take 190 years. Symbolic, but legally acknowledged. Ethan was removed from my will. Life insurance beneficiaries changed from son to brother Matthew. $800,000 would go to someone who never tried to kill me for it. All legal documents updated. Power of attorney, medical directives, estate planning, every trace of them erased from my legal existence. By May, 6 weeks post-sentencing, paperwork was complete. I owned everything they tried to murder me for. But walking through that house felt like haunting my own life. Every room held ghosts. Dining table where we ate while they plotted. Kitchen where Diane measured antifreeze. Office where Ethan photographed insurance policies. I could not stay. Jack Morrison visited regularly. "Sell it," he said. "This house is poisoned. Start fresh." He was right. Listed in June. Charleston market was strong. Multiple offers. Sold in 3 weeks for $1.3 million. I sold the firm too. Dave, my project manager, bought it for $550,000. He had earned it. I could not bear seeing my name on that door anymore. Total liquid assets, $2,040,000. Enough to disappear. Start over anywhere. Build new life far from Charleston ghosts. Victim services sent quarterly updates I never requested. Diane at Leith Correctional, minimum security. Worked prison library. No disciplinary issues. Model prisoner. Already thinking about parole in 15 years. Ethan at Perry Correctional, medium security. 3 fights in 6 months. 2 trips to segregation, struggling. I felt nothing reading those updates. They were strangers now. I never visited, never wrote, never sent money. They were dead to me in every way except literally. Mrs. Shaw wrote occasionally, apologizing for not speaking sooner. I wrote back once, thanking her for saving my life. She had nothing to apologize for. She was the hero, the brave neighbor who told uncomfortable truth. By August, I closed every Charleston account, paid every final bill, tied every loose end. Estate sale company cleared the house. Furniture, dishes, everything Diane chose. I kept only clothes, my father's watch, photographs from before I met her. Everything else went to strangers. I bought a truck, Ford F-150, used, reliable. Loaded what remained into the bed. Sleeping bag, laptop, documents, single suitcase. Late August morning, I walked out of that Charleston house for the last time. Locked the door. Left keys on kitchen counter for new owners. Started the truck. Drove west. Away from South Carolina. Away from the practice I built. Away from the neighborhood where Mrs. Shaw saved me. Away from the courthouse where justice was served. Toward Montana. Toward mountains. Toward somewhere nobody knew my story. Toward rebuilding. The rearview mirror showed Charleston fading behind me. Historic streets, oak trees, the church steeples that had defined my view for 2 decades. All of it disappearing as Interstate 26 stretched west into unfamiliar territory. I had no plan beyond direction. West. Mountains. Somewhere cold in winter. Somewhere that demanded you respect nature because nature could kill you faster than poison. Somewhere honest in its dangers. $2 million sat in bank accounts I could access from anywhere. Enough to buy land, build a cabin, start a small practice designing homes for people who valued craft. Enough to live simply for the rest of my life without ever working again if I chose. But I would work. Because work was honest. You designed a house, someone paid you, the transaction was transparent. Not like family, where the transaction was hidden, the cost extracted slowly, the payment demanded in blood. The truck rolled west through South Carolina, into Tennessee, through Nashville, across Arkansas. I drove 12 hours that first day, stopping only for gas and coffee. Plain black coffee from gas stations. No special blends. No Sunday rituals. Just caffeine and road and distance from everything that had tried to kill me. By midnight, I crossed into Oklahoma. Found a motel. Slept hard for the first time in months. Woke to plains stretching forever under big sky. Kept driving west. 6 months later, I stood on a cabin porch in Missoula, Montana, coffee in hand. Plain black coffee, no special ingredients, and watched the sun rise over mountains that had never lied to me. The cabin cost $380,000. Small, 2 bedrooms, wood stove, view of the Bitterroot Range. I paid cash. I started a solo architecture practice, residential projects only, no travel, no partnerships, just me designing custom homes for people who appreciated craft over profit. Therapy twice a week helped. Dr. Sanders specialized in trauma and betrayal. Slowly, painfully, I learned to trust again. Not people yet, but myself, my judgment, my worth beyond what I could provide. Physically, I healed. Kidney function improved. Medication reduced. The fatigue lifted. Emotionally, the scars remained, probably always would. But I was alive. And they were not. Not dead, but gone. Removed from my life as completely as if they had never existed. Justice had cost me everything I thought I had. My marriage, my son, my home, 24 years of memories now tainted with knowledge of deception. But it gave me something back. My life, my future, the truth. At the local coffee shop one morning, a woman about my age smiled over her newspaper. New to town, 6 months now. Welcome to Montana. It grows on you. I smiled back, carefully, guardedly, but genuinely. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but someday I might trust again, might love again, might believe in family again. For now, the mountains were enough, and plain black coffee tasted better than poison ever could. 6 months after Mrs. Shaw's warning, I stood on a Montana cabin porch, holding plain black coffee, watching sunrise paint the Bitterroot Range gold. The cabin cost $380,000. Cash. 2 bedrooms, wood stove, 18 acres, solitude that felt earned. I drove 5 days to get here, through Oklahoma, Colorado, Wyoming. Montana appeared day 4, big sky, mountains that made you small. Found Missoula by accident, college town, good coffee. Bought this cabin site unseen. September, I renovated. October, registered Bennett Architecture, Montana. Solo practice, residential design, custom homes, no employees, no partners, no travel. Within 3 months, 4 projects. Honest labor that let me sleep. Therapy helped. Dr. Sanders, twice weekly. I learned worth separate from providing. Learned genuine love has value even unreciprocated. Learned trust rebuilds slowly. Physically healed faster than emotionally. Kidney function 80%. Medication reduced. Body forgives poisoning easier than heart forgives betrayal. Joined Thursday hiking group. Quiet people. After 3 months, Ellen invited coffee. I declined. Not ready, she understood. Mrs. Shaw emailed occasionally. Charleston updates. Never mentioned Diane or Ethan unless asked. I thanked her for courage. Winter came hard, 20 below. I learned wood splitting, stove maintenance, chosen solitude. Cold was honest. Killed if stupid. Never pretended warmth while freezing slowly. Unlike poison. Unlike family. Spring late, June morning, 1 year after Charleston, I drove to town. Coffee shop busy, ordered plain black. Woman my age smiled from next table. New to Missoula? 8 months. Still new. Takes a year. Extended hand. Rachel, biology professor. Robert, architect. Designed the Hendersons' passive solar? Yes. Beautiful. My sister needs architect. Share your number? 10 minutes? Work, weather, trails, normal conversation? Someone who knew nothing about poison or betrayal. Leaving. Welcome to Montana. It grows on you. Genuine smile? Already has. Driving back, thought about justice cost. Diane and Ethan imprisoned, 15, 18 years, would emerge different, broken, or same with better lies. I had 2 million, new life, mountains never lying, satisfying work, helpful therapy, unpoisoned coffee, lost 24 years to fiction, lost easy trust, lost belief family sacred, love enough, good intentions protective. Justice cost everything I thought I had. Justice gift, discovering what I needed, not targeting wife, not fake son, not house on lies, truth, honest work, mountains, plain coffee, maybe eventually courage, trusting again. Not today, maybe not this year, someday. Lesson learned. Trust, but verify. Love genuinely, but protect yourself. Family defined not by blood or certificates, but who shows up with nothing to gain. Mrs. Shaw showed up. Mailbox conversation saving my life. That was family. Diane and Ethan, sharing name and home decades, were strangers wearing masks. Coffee poison was final truth of what they always were. Would not make that mistake again. Montana sun climbed. Coffee cold. Poured out. Made fresh. Knew exactly what was in it. Nothing but coffee. Nothing but truth. Enough. Phone buzzed. Dave, Charleston. Finished Riverside project you started. Named conference room after you, Bennett Hall. You built something good, even leaving behind. Read twice. Smiled. Maybe you do not burn everything starting over. Maybe some survive fire. Good work. Good people. Good choices before wrong. Texted back. Means more than you know. Put phone away. Picked up drafting pencil. Returned designing home for Missoula couple wanting small, sustainable, honest. Like life I was building. One day at a time. One plain coffee at a time. One mountain sunrise at a time. The cost of justice had been everything I believed was real. The gift of justice was learning what actually mattered. Not the perfect life I thought I built, but the honest life I was building now. In Montana. On 18 acres, with mountains that never lied, and coffee that contained exactly what it claimed. Some mornings I still woke thinking about them. Wondered if Diane felt remorse in her prison cell. Wondered if Ethan understood what he had lost. Then I made coffee, walked onto the porch, watched sunrise, and remembered they had not lost me. I had escaped them. There was difference. I was not victim anymore. Not fool, not mark. Just man rebuilding in mountains, one honest day at a time. That was enough. More than enough. It was everything. If you have stayed with me through this journey, thank you. But more importantly, learn from what happened so it never happens to you. This story is not just about poison or betrayal. It is about the dangerous assumption that people closest to us would never harm us. I made that assumption for 24 years. It nearly killed me. Here is what I learned. First, trust your instincts. Mrs. Shaw felt something wrong. She spoke up despite awkwardness, despite risk. That courage saved my life. If someone you trust warns you, listen. Do not dismiss discomfort. It is often your subconscious recognizing danger before your mind accepts it. Second, verify everything. I trusted blindly because I loved deeply. That was my mistake. Love and trust are not the same. Love is feeling. Trust is earned through consistent behavior. When my wife started a new coffee ritual after 23 years, I should have asked why. Small pattern changes often signal larger problems. Third, financial desperation makes people dangerous. Diane owed $92,000. Ethan owed $68,000. Total $160,000. Less than 10% of inheritance. They chose murder over asking for help because desperation destroys judgment. If someone in your life is financially desperate, be compassionate but cautious. Money pressure transforms people. Fourth, document everything. Cameras saved my life twice. Once revealing the plot, again providing undisputable evidence. In any suspected wrongdoing, create paper trail. Save texts, emails, recordings where legal. Evidence protects when words become he said, she said. Fifth, no poisoning warning signs. I ignored fatigue, stomach pain, confusion, attributing them to age and stress. Chronic low-dose poisoning mimics common conditions. If unexplained symptoms coincide with specific foods or drinks, see a doctor. Request toxicology screening. It sounds paranoid until it saves your life. Sixth, family is not blood or certificates. Family is who shows up with nothing to gain. Mrs. Shaw was more family than my wife or son. She risked our friendship for truth. That is real love. Real love protects, even when uncomfortable. Seventh, justice has a cost. I won in court. They are imprisoned. I kept assets. But I lost 24 years of memories now contaminated. Lost ability to trust easily. Lost identity as husband and father. Justice is not restoration. It is accountability. Sometimes that must be enough. Finally, you can rebuild. 6 months ago in Charleston, surrounded by ghosts, I could not imagine future. But I am here now. Montana, building homes, drinking plain coffee, watching sunrises, learning to trust again, slowly, carefully. If this teaches anything, let it be. Protect yourself. Trust, but verify. Love genuinely, but keep eyes open. If worst happens, know you can survive. Justice is possible. Healing is possible. Rebuilding is possible. Not easy, not quick, but possible. I am living proof. 3 final thoughts. 1. Do not let my story make you paranoid. Most families are genuine. Most love is real. But healthy relationships welcome transparency. If someone reacts defensively to reasonable questions, that is a red flag. 2. If you are in Diane or Ethan's situation, desperate for money, drowning in debt, ask for help. Swallow pride. Declare bankruptcy. Seek counseling. There are always options besides violence. Always. 3. If you are someone like Mrs. Shaw, seeing something wrong, speak up. Yes, it is awkward. Yes, you might be wrong. But you might save a life. That possibility is worth the discomfort. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope you never need these lessons. But if you do, I hope they help. Stay safe. Trust wisely. Love genuinely. And always, always verify.